Hey Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Hive, otherwise known as the Haven in Anglo-Saxon, right here in Kent, southeast England, near the English Channel. We're here with Shyam Kishore Das Brahmachari and our dear Abhaya Das Brahmachari, just waiting for this moment because this is the favorite part of our day, and I'm sure it's the favorite part of your day too, when we get to hear straight Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava, written by Srila Sanatana Goswami to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, but it equally applies to the Bhagavad-gita, being an literary incarnation of God, Sri Krishna. Goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwan Dudita Aditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Savasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguro Man Mahadana, Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamuncha gadachin mam premna rit katayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, we've reached the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita As It Is. This is the first chapter of the middle 6 chapters, which are the most confidential. They're the chapters in which Krishna reveals to Arjuna explicitly who he is. Beginning with text 7. Mattak padatanam nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya Mai sarvamidang protang sutre manigana iva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Purport. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad-gita is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the Supreme Absolute Truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. That is, the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead, is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.10, Tato yad uttadatadam tadarupam anamayam ya itad viduramritas te bhavanti atarade dukam evapiyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is the Transcendence, who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3, 8, and 9 substantiate this as follows. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam adityavarnam tamasak padastat tameva vidit bhatimritum yeti nanyak pratanta nanyak panta vidyate yanaya yasmat padam na padamasti kinchit yasman naniyo no jayosti kinchit vriksha eva stabdo divitishtite kas tinedam purnam purushena sarvam. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he knows him, only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that Supreme Person, because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest, and he is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky, and as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. Text 8. Rasoham apsukonteya prabhasmi shashishuryaho pranabak sarvavedeshu shabdike purusham rishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Purport. This verse explains how the Lord is all-pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine, so the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading, diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achintya Bheda and Abheda Tattva, simultaneously one and difference. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahmajyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, and Pranava, or Omkara, transcendental sound, is the beginning of every Vedic hymn. I'll read that again. And Pranava, or the Omkara, transcendental sound, in the beginning of every Vedic mantra, hymn, addresses the Supreme Lord. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound, Omkara. But they do not realize that Omkara is the sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion, and so knowledge of Krishna is liberation, and ignorance of him is bondage. Text 9. Punyo gandak prativyam cha tejas chasme vibhavaso jivanam sarvabhuteshu tapaschasmi tapashvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Purport. Punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the material world has a certain fragrance, as the fragrance in a flower, or in the earth, in water, in fire, in air, etc. The uncontaminated fragrance, the original fragrance, which permeates everything, is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste, and this taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything has some original fragrance and taste. Vibhavasu means fire. Without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, and so on. and that fire is Krishna. The heat in the fire is Krishna. According to Vedic medicine, indigestion is due to a low temperature in the belly. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, fire, air, and every active principle, all chemicals, and all material elements are due to Krishna. The duration of man's life is also due to Krishna. Therefore, by the grace of Krishna, man can prolong his life or diminish it. So Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere. Text 10. Bijam mang sarvabhutanam vidiparta sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejasvinam aham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Purport. Bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, moving and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8,400,000 species of life. Some of them are moving, and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in the Vedic literature, Taittiriya Upanishad 3.1.1, Yato va imani bhutani jayante. Brahman, or the Supreme Absolute Truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Para-Brahman, the Supreme Spirit. Brahman is impersonal and Para-Brahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect. That is stated in Bhagavad-gita 14.27. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yo vididati kaman. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities, and He alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence. And Krishna also says that He is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Text 11. Balam balabhatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddhavo bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharts, Arjuna. Purport. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life, according to religious principles, dharma, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious. Text 12. Ye chaiva sattvika bhava rajasas tamasascha ye mata eviti tanvidi natveham teshu te mayi. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am not independent. But I am. Let's read that again, sorry. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Purport. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished, but the king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, but Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore he is nirguna, which means that these gunas, or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 13. Tribir gunamayayar bhavayar evik sarvamidam jagat mohitang na bijanati mamevyak paramabhyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Purport. The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity is under the influence of material nature. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities. Accordingly, there are 4 classes of men functioning in the 3 material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called vaishyas. And those who are completely in ignorance are called shudras. And those who are less than that, and those who are less than that are animals, or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may either be a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary, and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life. And we thus think that we are Americans, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, and so on. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. And all of them have forgotten the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the Absolute Truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in His personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. Text 14. Daivi yesha gunamayi mamamaya duratyaya mameba ye prabhadyante mayam etang tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of His energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal spiritual nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Buddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy. Again, consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature, due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan, mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya, illusion, is false or temporary, The background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the supreme controller. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4:10. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound, because the bound cannot help the bound. The rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna, or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu, only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna, passion, and Tamoguna, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3:8, confirm this in the phrase Tam Eva Viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva nasangshayaha. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. 15. Na mam dushkritino muda prapadyante naradamaha mayaya paritagyana asuram bhavamashritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Purport. It is said in Bhagavad-gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. It is said in the Bhagavad-gita that simply by surrendering oneself under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality, Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead. Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with different great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible by simply surrendering under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hard-working leaders adopt this simple method? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society, like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, the Kumaras, Manu, Vyas, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and later on, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others who were faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all-powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy, nature, is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of planning commissions. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word duskritina, or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheistic plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist's brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called duskriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as the shadow moves in accordance with the movements of the object. But still, material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled. As in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These duskritinas, or miscreants, are of 4 different patterns as outlined below. 1. The mudhas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves, and so they do not want to part with them for the Supreme. The typical example of the beast of burden is the ass. This humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. he remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under fear of being beaten by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this braying sound only disturbs others. This is the position of the foolish fruitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma, action, is meant for yajna, sacrifice. Most often those who work very hard, day and night, to clear the burden of self-created duties, say that they have no time to hear the immortality of the living being. To such mudhas, material gains which are destructible are life's all in all, despite the fact that the mudhas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied and with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Ignorant of their real master, the foolish workers waste their valuable time serving mammon. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the Supreme Master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. The swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear of the sense-enjoyable tidings of the flickering, mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. 2. Another class of duskriti, or miscreant, is called the Naradama, or the lowest of mankind. Nara means human being, and Adama means the lowest. Out of the 8,400,000 different species of living entities, living beings, there are 400,000 human species. Out of these, there are numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. The civilized human beings are those who have regulated principles of social, political, and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed, but who have no religious principles, must be considered Naradamas. Nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following religious principles is to know the supreme truth and man's relation with him. In the Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states, man's relation clearly states, in the Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states that there is no authority above him, and that he is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is all-powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified as a Naradama. We get information from revealed scriptures that when the baby is in the mother's womb, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulty is the natural instinct in every living being, because he is eternally related with God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also, being influenced by Maya, the illusory energy. It is the duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies, as enjoined in the Manusmriti, which is the guide to religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashram. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% of the population is Naradama. When the whole population becomes Naradama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of the Gita, a learned man is he who sees on equal terms the learned Brahmana, the dog, the cow, the elephant, and the dog-eater. That is the vision of a true devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Godhead as Divine Master, delivered the typical Naradamas, the brothers Jagai and Madhai, and showed how the mercy of a real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So the Naradama, who is condemned by the personality of Godhead, can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in propagating the Bhagavad Dharma, or activities of the devotees, has recommended that people submissively hear the message of the personality of Godhead. The essence of this message is Bhagavad-gita. I'll repeat that. Do you mind? Can I? It's all right? Oh, all right. The essence of this message is Bhagavad-gita. The lowest among human beings can be delivered by this submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even refuse to give an oral reception to these messages. And what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord? Naradamas, or the lowest of mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of the human being. 3. The next class of duskriti is called Mayaya Parita Jnana, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. There are a great number of Mayaya Pardita Jnana at the present moment, even among the scholars of the Bhagavad-gita. In the Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is none equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Sri Krishna is said to be not only the father of Brahma, but also the father of all species of life. He is the root of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma, the Supersoul, and the Supersoul in every living entity is his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all these clear statements, the Mayaya Pradita Jnana deride the personality of the Supreme Lord and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. All the unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the class of Mayaya Parita Jnana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. The deluded interpreters do not surrender under the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. 4. The last class of Duskriti is called Asurang Bhavam Ashritaha, or those of demonic principles. This class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never descend to this material world, but they are unable to give any tangible reasons as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal feature, although the opposite is declared in the Gita. Envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. Such persons, whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead, cannot surrender under the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Yamunacharya, Al-Banduru of South India, said, "O my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles, despite your uncommon qualities, features, and activities. Despite your personalities being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly qualities. Therefore, 1. Grossly foolish persons. 2. The lowest of mankind. 3. The deluded speculators. And 4. The professed atheists, as above mentioned, never surrender unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead in spite of all scriptural and authoritative advice." Hare Krishna. I forgot how long that purport was. I didn't intend to read it so much, but I must say it was edifying, uplifting, and enlivening. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll end our reading tonight. We'll begin tomorrow with text 16. Please, if anyone has any reflections on these fantastic verses, please be our guest. We've got a microphone open.
First is from Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
She says, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai.
Fresh wisdom.
That's very well put. Because we've heard these things again and again. And if we're stupid, then we'll be bored when we hear them. But if we're smart, then we'll understand this wisdom is ever fresh. And when you hear something that's true, but you can't feel inspired and enlivened by it, because you've heard it before, that means something's going on up here. It's not allowing me to actually hear. It's not going through the mind to the heart and to the soul, which wants to hear these things. Hare Krishna.
Sudevi Dasi says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi Dasi.
And from Bhakta Rupa.
Haribo Bhakti Rupa.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Unfortunately, we can't be there this evening, as Vaisheshika Prabhu is visiting us here in Wales.
Wow. He's in Wales? I didn't even know. He's here, He's here in the UK. I haven't talked to him yet. He's moving so fast, you can't talk to him.
And from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribo Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
She says, Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to His divine grace.
And from Bhaktimatsu.
Haribo Bhaktimatsu.
He says, Bhaktivedanta purports Ki Jai.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada's commentation and transmission of the authoritative considerations of the previous acharyas, Ki Jai.
He has a comment also. I was really appreciating today's reading. It is similar to the description of liberation that we are hearing in our daily reading of Brihad Bhagavatamrita from your YouTube playlist. We are about halfway through the second volume in the section where Gopakumar is hearing from the personified Vedas, headed by Gopal Tapani Upanishad and Srimad Bhagavatam, about the true nature of liberation.
Yes.
Thank you for making all of these wonderful books available to us.
Hare Krishna. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
And from Vilas Manjari.
Haribo Bilas Manjari. Hare Krishna.
Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai.
This description of the self-created duties of the fruitive worker makes the problem so clear.
Oh yes.
It's so easy to get completely absorbed in this labyrinth of self-created duties.
Oh yes.
And never find time for the real purpose of life.
Oh yes. Thank you. That's a wonderful reflection. No time. That's the typical, response to materialists, and even ourselves in our minds. We have so much time on our hands, but no, we don't have time to take a little more effort, to be a little more Krishna conscious. No time. We make up all the things we need to do, and we have no time to hear about Krishna and actually practice what Krishna says. So it's to our benefit to avoid being one of these persons, one of these groups. Tomorrow we'll hear about who approaches Krishna.
Sudevi Dasi.
Yes, Sudevi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
She says, Haribol, that was super nice reading.
Hmm.
I love hearing the part where Krishna can order Maya to leave me alone and order her to release her grip on me,
Yes,
the helpless crying for help.
yes.
I feel relief hearing this more than once because I am forgetful. I need your mercy, Maharaj, and that of your faithful assembled devotees.
Yes, that's the truth. That's the truth. We can't overcome Maya by ourselves, and that's the illusion. As soon as we think that we can, we'll be more confident in our own strength than we should be. Because no one can overcome the material energy except for Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. So we need each other to do this. Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari,
Haribo Rati.
she says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. How wonderful that your dear friend Vaisheshika Prabhu is on the same continent.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I pray that you will meet each other very soon and in best of health.
Well, the plan is to, but I just found out that he has a program that night at 6:30 in the Manor and he can't change it. And I don't know what he's got going on in the daytime because he's fully engaged. So I don't know. I'm praying that he'll be able to come. The plan is that he can come and see me on the 19th.
And I secretly hope that Vaisheshika Prabhu will make his live appearance in the readings at least once.
That's not going to happen, because he won't be able to be here. He'll have a 6:30 appointment at night. He has to drive from here to there. That's another 2.5 hours. He won't be able to stay here longer than 3:30. And I don't know what time he's going to get here, because it takes 2.5 hours to get here. Hare Krishna. Such is the way of a Bhagavad-gita.
From Dayal Nitai.
Haribol Danitai, Hare Krishna. That was a fantastic Govardhan Hill that you and Radhananda made for your baking shop.
It appears at times that there is only a thin line between prescribed duties and self-created duties. Would you please elaborate on this?
Yeah, it's not so thin. Self-created duties are duties that we make up ourselves, and prescribed duties are the ones that are given to us by our spiritual master or some authority or another, because everyone has an authority in this material world. So, you're there and you have chosen to run that bakery and make it into a spiritual place, which you are doing very nicely, by the way. So, that is it's something that's made up in your mind, but that doesn't mean that it's self-created. You're doing a duty. When you're running a shop, there are duties that come with that effort, with that engagement. And you have to do those things. Those are also prescribed duties. They're not self-created. You can't just decide, what time you want to open and what time you want to, close in order to make a shop work. So the duties that are prescribed by the modes of nature are already there. We don't make them up, but what is made up is duties that go against the laws of nature. The duties that go against the laws of nature are the duties that are made up by ourselves. So that's the difference between self-created and prescribed duties.
Next is from Maxine.
Haribol, back to Maxine.
She says, Hare Krishna, dearest Maharaj. It's so nice to read with you again tonight. I missed you yesterday as I was enjoying my first celebration of Govardhan Hill with the lovely devotees at the Atma Lounge. It was very uplifting and enlivening. A totally wonderful experience.
Fantastic.
Hari Bol. Jai Atma Lounge.
Jai Atma Lounge. I'm such a person I can't even make it up the stairs of the Atma Lounge, so sometimes I get stuck here by myself. But I came across some lectures that I didn't know I had on my computer, lectures at Govardhan Puja in Bhaktivedanta Ashram in Govardhan, where I was, and I attended them all, and I listened to 4 hours straight of different godbrothers glorifying Govardhan Hill and Krishna's pastimes in Govardhan, one after the other. And then all of a sudden I heard myself greeting all the guests and making some introduction. And it put me into another world. 4 straight hours. It's the best Govardhan Puja I ever had. Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati.
She says, tonight I was fascinated by Srila Prabhupada's descriptions about the types of people who do not surrender to Krishna. Quote, for example, the swines who eat the night soil and who do not like to accept the sweetmeats. Unquote. What a picture. What a poet he is.
Oh, yes. These are called picture words. They're not ordinary words, Prabhupada's purports. They're picture words. They make it easy to visualize what's being said and what the truth is.
She has more.
Mm.
She says, today we went to chant in the city, and we met the people who came to the climate march and chanted for them at the side of the road for 1.5 hours.
Nice.
While tens of thousands of people walked by and heard the holy names.
Wonderful.
The estimated amount was 40,000 people, and we have chanted to at least 20,000 of them. What a
fantastic.
What a refreshing experience.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for doing that. Like I said, I always say it, I live vicariously through your activities because I can't do those things anymore with my decrepit body, old man's body. But boy, it's serious and enlivening to hear.
As of now, the last from Dharanitai.
Haribol Dharanitai. I must have muddied the water rather than made it more clear. Go ahead.
He says, thank you for your clarifying response, Sri the Guru Maharaj.
Oh, that's a relief. I thought I made it more unclear. Thank you so much.
And something more just came from Vilas Manjari.
Haribol Vilas Manjari.
She says, I found these same lectures on Govardhan Puja by Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu on ISKCON Desire Tree in a festivals folder and listened to. They were pure nectar.
Yes. Well, I listened to Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, Jayadvaita Maharaj, Burijan Prabhu, Indradumna Maharaj, Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. It was unbelievable. Yes, Shyam Kishore has something to contribute here.
I was just wondering about it was talking about submissive hearing, and then I was thinking also about the active, and when we hear about active and passive reading, how to bring.
What's the difference between submissive hearing and active and passive hearing?
Yeah.
Well, active hearing is submissive hearing. What does submissive mean? What does it mean to submit to something? What does it mean to submit to something?
Accept
It means to give yourself to something. To submit to something means to give yourself to something. You can't be submissive by being passive or having other things go through the mind. Submissive hearing means with rapt attention, giving yourself, forgetting the mind, controlling your mind. Don't let your mind go here and there and everywhere because it interferes with the sound. The process is it goes in the ear and then it goes into the mind. From the mind and the intelligence it goes into the heart. It has to go through to where you are in the heart, the soul. So submissive hearing means you let that happen. Mm-hmm. You have to consciously let that happen by concentrating. Submissive hearing means concentrated hearing. Concentrated hearing means rapt attention. We're not thinking, when is this going to be over? Or I don't know how much more I can take this, I mean, yeah, okay, but then, I also, this is in the mind. The mind, all these things are going through the mind. And meanwhile, all the things that you need to hear are going in one ear and out the other. To hear means to do. That's active. That's submissive hearing. You do, you hear, and then you become enlivened to do what you're hearing, and then you do it. And by practicing that over and over again, it becomes fixed in your own character, in your own nature. That's submissive hearing. It changes you. That means active. Conscious hearing. You have to use your own will. Krishna has given you will. Now you can use that will or misuse the will. When you're sitting to hear, and if you use the will properly, you'll get something. You'll get the answers to your questions, or you'll figure out, like you did just now, what to ask to make it more clear. That's active. Passive, you need to sit there, and then you wait till it's over, and then you get up and leave. That's it. No change, no participation, no flow.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. We have to want Krishna consciousness, and we have to want to like the process. Then we have to do the process. And then the liking of the process will increase more and more and more until you can't live without it for a second. Then your restlessness will go away, and you can become peaceful and then happy. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad-gita As It Is, Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Thank you very much, everyone. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. The flow of nectar coming from Krishna through Srila Prabhupada to us. How to be devotees, how to become better devotees, how to become finally pure devotees, and to meet Krishna face to face. See you tomorrow. Haribol.